Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast, Supporting All of Us Through COVID-19. My name is Dr. Christine Daigle, and I'm a psychologist with the Greater Essex County District School Board. I'm here with another podcast to help families through this very different time that we're all experiencing as a result of COVID-19. Today, we're going to discuss a couple techniques for coping with stress. Specifically, we'll be looking at learned optimism. This method is based on the work of psychologist Martin Seligman in his book of the same name. But to understand learned optimism, we first have to understand its opposite, learned helplessness. Dr. Seligman discovered the concept of learned helplessness in the late 60s with a classic experiment using dogs, bells, and electric shocks. He would ring a bell and then give a dog a light shock. After repetition, the dog reacted as soon as it heard the bell, even though the shock had not happened. Next, he put each dog into a large crate divided down the middle by a low fence. The dog could see and jump over the fence. The floor on one side was electrified, but the other side was not. Dr. Seligman put the dog on the electrified side. He expected the dog to jump over the fence to the non-shocking side, but instead, each dog laid down. It was as though they'd been conditioned from the first part of the experiment to believe that there was nothing they could do to avoid the shocks, so they gave up. Seligman called this condition learned helplessness, which means giving up on in a negative situation because the past has taught you that you're helpless. Seligman tried the second part of the experiment on new dogs who had not been through the shock and bell part of the experiment. The new dogs jumped right over the fence and escaped the shocks, proving that the original dogs had learned helplessness from the first part of the experiment. So how does this dog experiment apply to us? Less extreme experiments with humans have shown similar results to the animal experiences. In one experiment, there were 3 groups of human test subjects. Group 1 heard a loud noise and had a button in front of them. They needed to press the button 4 times to make the noise stop. They worked this out pretty quickly. Group 2 had the same noise and the same button, but when they pressed the button, nothing happened. So soon, they stopped bothering to press the button altogether because it was pretty pointless. Group 3 had no noise at all. In the second part of this experiment, all the participants heard the same loud noise as before, but now they had a box with a lever in front of them. When pulled, the lever turned the noise off. Groups 1 and 3 turned the noise off quickly. Group 2, who had learned that they couldn't turn the noise off in the first part of the experiment, didn't even try the lever and sat with an annoying noise playing. Further research found that learned helplessness has 2 types: universal helplessness and personal helplessness. Universal helplessness is a sense that nothing can be done about the situation and no one can alleviate the pain or discomfort. Personal helplessness is the belief that while others may be able to find a solution and avoid pain or discomfort, you are not personally capable of finding a solution. Both of these can lead down to a road of increased stress and eventually depression. At this current time, we may be struggling with doing our jobs or changes in our jobs. Well, the kids are at home trying to finish their homeschooling, and we're not able to exercise outside of the home, and we're missing friends, and we have a lack of sleep, and sometimes there's just nothing you can do. That spiral of thoughts and feelings is part of learned helplessness. So let's talk about methods for overcoming learned helplessness to help combat stress. It starts with recognizing our explanatory styles. Explanatory styles are essentially little stories that we tell ourselves to make sense of life. So it's our way of explaining why or how bad events occur. So there are 3 main parts to each explanation called the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps determine whether we approach a problem positively or negatively. The first P is personalization, or how we view the cause of an event. Pessimists view events as internally caused. For example, I lost a chess match, therefore I'm bad at chess. Optimists, on the other hand, view things as externally caused and allow for factors that aren't personal. For example, the opponent was amazing, or I wasn't feeling well today, so the opponent got lucky. The second P is permanence, or how we view time. Pessimists believe setbacks are permanent and fixed forever. For example, I will never be good at chess or able to beat that opponent. Optimists believe setbacks are only temporary. So for example, I didn't prepare well, or I had a cold, or I need to practice more. Next time I'll perform better. The third P is pervasiveness, or how we view the space or areas that an event impacts. Pessimists see a setback as pervasive and related to many areas as well as the specific situation. For example, I failed at chess, so I'm not smart or good at anything. Optimists see a setback as narrowly contained to one area of life. For example, I still have a life outside of chess where I'm still smart and capable. So, our response style to situations can increase our stress. But how do we prevent learned helplessness? The first method is using the 3 Ps for reflection. When faced with loss and disappointment, we should try asking ourselves these key questions. We start with the first P for personal. Did you blame yourself? If so, in hindsight, was that accurate? Are you really to blame? Or was it just bad luck or a factor dependent on the situation or people around you? Then move on to the second P, permanent. Did you assume it would last forever? If so, was that accurate? How long can it really last? Will it always be like this or will it pass? Then we look at the third P, pervasive. Did you assume it would ruin everything in your life? If so, in hindsight, was that truly accurate? What does it really affect in your life? What in your life will continue unaffected? Try and review your explanatory style wherever possible and challenge any pessimistic explanations that have become your default setting. This will help reduce the negative impact of setbacks and encourage more positivity and less stress in the future. The second method for combating stress is called the ABC method. When we face disappointment or negativity, we can use Dr. Seligman's ABC method to begin to change feelings of helplessness and pessimistic perspectives. ABC stands for A, adversity, B, beliefs, and C, consequences. In short, we encounter adversity or a challenging event. How we think about this creates beliefs. These beliefs then influence what we do next, so they become consequences. The first step is to keep a diary for several days. Your goal is to listen to your inner thoughts, especially when you encounter a stressful or difficult situation. For each situation, write down the adversity you experienced with as little judgment or emotion as possible. Then write the beliefs you formed after encountering the adversity and the consequences of those beliefs. Consequences can be anything from happy or unhappy thoughts and feelings to specific actions that you took. There is a worksheet linked on our website that will help get you started. Let's look at an example. First, the A for adversity. A colleague criticized my product idea in front of the team during a weekly meeting. Then B for belief. She's right, it was a dumb idea. I don't have much of an imagination. Now the entire team can see how uncreative I am. I never should have spoken up. The last is C for consequences. I felt stupid and I didn't speak up for the rest of the meeting. I don't want to attend any more meetings with the team, and I've already made an excuse to avoid tomorrow's meeting. Once you've written down several ABC situations, the second step is to take a look at what you found. So here you look for patterns in your thinking. specifically how any broad beliefs have led to specific consequences. Changing your beliefs following adversity leads to more positive consequences and less stress. The third step is to use disputation. The beliefs you develop after encountering adversity play a major role in your life and determine whether you're an optimistic or pessimistic thinker. It's important to manage negative ABC patterns by disputing them. Think of disputation as a D after ABC. To dispute your negative thoughts and beliefs, you argue with yourself rationally. In particular, you look for the mistaken assumptions about your explanatory style that we talked about earlier. We'll use the same example that I previously used to illustrate this technique. So again, we start with A for adversity. A colleague criticized my product idea in front of the team during our weekly meeting. Then we move to B for belief. She's right, it was a dumb idea. I don't have an imagination. The entire team knows it. They know I'm uncreative. I never should have spoken up. And next is the C for consequences. I felt stupid. I didn't speak up for the rest of the meeting. I don't want to go to any more meetings. I'm not going to tomorrow's meeting. And then comes the D for disputation. I'm blowing this out of proportion. My colleague had every right to criticize my idea. It wasn't personal. Her critique was spot on. She even commended my creative thinking once the meeting was over. Maybe next time I just need to think my ideas through a little bit better. A final step that is often included is E for energy. This is where you write a few sentences about how your disputation changed your energy. What happened to your mood? How did your behavior change? What solutions did you see that you didn't see before? Practice makes perfect with this exercise, so use it often. After learning to understand our explanatory style and to overcome pessimistic thinking, the last piece is to understand that we are in control and take ownership of our response to situations and the next steps we take. Believing that a failure is out of our control or a situation is unlikely to change leads to worse performance and more stress. By assessing ourselves, we can overcome self-imposed limitations or learned helplessness and lead happier, less stressful lives. Please visit our website at publicboard.ca to read the full articles used on today's podcast. And while these techniques have a positive effect on reducing negative thinking, if you have frequent and intense negative thoughts that have led to prolonged symptoms of depression or anxiety, please consult a health professional such as a medical doctor, psychiatrist, or psychologist. So to sum up, this is a difficult time for all of us. Do the best you can. Be kind to yourself, be kind to your kids, and thank you for listening.